We're on the 1st of October. We're actually filming a little bit earlier than we were supposed to be. We were planned to do middle of October, but something came up, so we've had to move it forward a bit. So normally the red stags for the last few years wouldn't have started rutting until like this week anyway. But actually we've had a cold snap from the middle of September, and some of the stags have been roaring and doing a bit of rutting for the last sort of week or 10 days. So we've basically done one client already, got a few days off before we get another client next week for another stag. So we've come up to our big wood again. We're going to pretty much do the circuit that we did in the last video, but looking for a spiker or a really bad young stag. So we've got the 30-06 rifle, got the trailer on the truck ready to go, and we're just going to go and have a walk around, see if we can hear something, and then yeah, stalk in from there and see what we come across. Yeah, so you can see the pigs now, they've started to move off this field, so they do 2 years in one spot and then go somewhere else. So it'll be a big help for us once they're fully gone and we start shooting deer on that field again. Yeah, so we're just walking up the edge of the wood to get right for the wind. And we've just heard a stag roaring behind us, just a couple of little roars. Obviously once you start recording to try and get it on camera, they go quiet. It's just sod's law. But we'll keep heading up and then come round through the rides in the middle. We've just come into the wood. Just as I've spoken, there's something got up and run out of this bracken. Red hind. Hind and a calf. Just sat about 20 metres away from us. But yeah, we've still got this stag on our right, having a roar occasionally, which we heard as we were walking up the edge of the wood. And then now we've come in here, I can hear one a long way away over the other side of the wood, just started roaring. It's just gone 5 o'clock, so from now onwards they'll start making a bit more noise as it gets later, and then obviously goes through the night. So these wallows are pretty well used this time of year, but when they start to dry out, you can actually see like imprints of the deer on there. So this one you can actually see actually the hair marks where it's laid down and pressed up against it, and then quite often you can see like the knee marks where they've gone down on their knees and got up again. So yeah, pretty stinky stuff. We're just ambling down here, not taking a lot of notes on anything, and that spiker just jumped up out of this bracken. He was sat down and just ran straight through. Tried to give him a couple of little roars just to try and stop it, but he obviously knew where we were and he wasn't going to stop. But actually looked like he had 2 points on the top of each antler, so probably one we'd have left anyway. So that was the stag that was roaring over my right shoulder as we were walking down. Clearly an amazing stag. 18, 20 pointer, but probably got a couple of years still before he's old enough to take out the herd. Another one up in front, or one of the original ones. We just got to the end of this fenced area, which is one of 5 or 6 blocks they've coppiced and then fenced off to get the regeneration without the deer damage. So we'll just keep heading down towards this one we can hear roaring in the distance.
This is more than a show. It's the Great British Shooting Show, the biggest celebration of shooting in the UK, bar none. From air guns to optics, country style to sport, it's where every shooter belongs. 3 incredible days, from the 13th to the 15th of February 2026 at the NEC Birmingham. No distractions, just the very best of British shooting and beyond, all under one roof. Book now at shootingshow.co.uk.
We've stalked past 2 roaring stags in this bit of woodland on my right, but they're right back in the thick of it. I could just pick a little bit of one up with the thermal, but they're both big stags roaring, so there's no point us going in there and pushing them off the area really. There's nothing younger moving around, which you usually would get younger ones moving between the stags. But I can hear something roaring out on the field out in front of us, so we'll just keep walking through there slowly and see what's going on out there. Yeah, I can see them out there on the far side of the field. Can't see the stag yet though. So we've come through to the edge of the wood. We can see that stag that's roaring out there, about 250 metres away with a few hinds and calves. They're looking straight at us in the edge of the wood. They don't know we're here, but they're just looking for other stuff that's going to come out. So we've still got this other stag roaring in the wood over here. So I don't want to go right to the edge because they will see us come out and spook them away. So I think we'll head back into the wood, see if we can get a better look at this stag in here, and then maybe we'll come round at another angle, see if some younger ones have come out as it's getting a bit darker. Just come out of the wood here and we could hear this buzzing. And we just looked up and there's this huge cloud of look like small crane flies or something. They're a lot bigger than midges. Must be thousands of them up there. And there's a couple of bats flying around, obviously picking them off. So we'll go through here and have a look at that stag from a different angle and hoping that something else will have come out on the edge of the wood by then. So those hinds have clocked us as soon as we popped our head around the edge of the bracken. The stag that's there is obviously another big one. looks older than the one we saw on the skyline. So it could be the sort of size we take with a client. And then way off in the distance there's a load more red on another hedgerow and another stag out in the brown field just roaring away a little bit. There's just nothing of, no spikers, no young stags. That big one's sort of heading over that way because he wants to face down the other stag that's out there. But yeah, we just usually have a lot more younger ones walking around between them, but it's just very quiet from that point of view. So they're moving back towards the wood. That's the area where we were in before, looking out at them when they were down this hedgerow behind me. But the reality is that those big stags, you know, they have a value, and we'll take one a year with a paying client. That obviously goes to pay for my employment on the estate, and then the income generally from the commercial stalking we do goes to offset some of the damage they do the crops, pay for some of the fencing that's needed doing. You know, if they didn't have a value, then they wouldn't be here. They'd just be shot out because they eat everything from the floor up to 6 foot, and they just smash trees up, so why would you keep them? So it's our largest UK land mammal. That's our largest native UK land mammal. They're an amazing thing to have, but they cost these estates and farms a lot of money. It's the same with animals all around the world. If it doesn't have a value, it's got to go. So hopefully they'll have a value for a long time to come. So other than those ones out here, which we've already looked at, there's nothing we can have a go at. There's nothing out down on the right here, which is quite unusual, but it's obviously just one of those nights. So we'll crack on back through this track, have a look around the other side of the wood. There's a field of sugar beet heading back towards the truck. We might get lucky and pick something up there. Yeah, we've got, well, I've got a good 45 minutes of shooting time, but the camera's only going to get another 20 minutes, half an hour at the most, so we'll make a move. Yeah, well, we just had a look around the corner here. There's actually a younger red stag way out against the pig unit, but again not a cull one really, so we couldn't have shot that anyway. I was hoping we were going to see a muntjac up the edge here on the sugar beet, but that was all quiet, and we were just watching loads of bats, like 10 or 15 of them. I don't know if Adam's got any of them on camera, going after those hatched flies, whatever they are. And then looked back toward the reservoir, and a muntjac just came trotting across from right to left. So threw the gun up and gave it a whistle to stop it. And job's a good one, I think. So, young doe, just a little young one, year old, something like that. Would have been nice to have got a red spiker or a young cull stag in amongst those others, so you got some footage of the rutting stags and then taking a younger one as well, but obviously wasn't meant to be. Muntjac's better than a blank, and obviously because of the number of muntjac just in East Anglia generally, we just got to keep plugging away at them. We'd actually walk past quite a few in the wood in the hope that we'd find a suitable red stag to take. So yeah, not a total waste of an outing. I've got a good look at some of those stags that are roaring, so that's given me a good idea for what to go for and what not to go for with the client next week. And we'll get this one sorted out back at the larder, and we'll see you guys in November.